Hey guys, I have some terrible news for you if you're a knife fan and a fan of LT Wright's knives in general. And that terrible news is that soon you're going to be a little bit poorer because I'm probably going to talk you into wanting to buy this knife. Oh, I'm sorry, clickbait. Yeah, I know. I will try not to do that too much, but this is an awesome knife and I really wanted you to click on this video and watch this review because there is something special about this one. So this is a sort of companion style knife, sort of smaller, wear all day at camp kind of belt knife. It is a mix between the Genesis Saber and the GNS, the Genesis Saber blade and the GNS handle. This is available from DLT Trading. LT often does deals with the knife distributors, and you have to go to certain dealers to get certain knives or combinations of materials and whatnot. So DLT has this one for about 260 bones. Those are the specs because I'm lazy and because those are written quite well in both metric and standard. And that is the blade. So it's got that whole spear point, Horace Kefart thing going on, very traditional, very useful blade. And it's sort of the Saber grind, which is kind of like a more slicey grind than the Scandi grind. So the Saber is more of a general purpose style grind, whereas the Scandi is more of a woodworking edge. Not that you can't woodwork with this one, of course. The handle is excellent. The GNS handle was one of the things that you either chose when you were choosing between GNS or Genesis. It was the main thing. Do you want a bit more contouring, or do you want the broomstickness of the Genesis? I always liked the broomstickness, but having this one in hand now, those contours were slightly missed. This one is very smooth G10 with liners. It's all been polished, but that doesn't affect grip or anything like that. It's really nice in hand. Compared to a knife that's not particularly nice in hand, not terrible, but this is the ZT-0180, and as you can see here, you've got complete smoothness from the Outback, and the ZT very kind of blocky and square with kind of transitions that aren't super appetizing to wrap the old digits around. So, and plus the screws are coming out, whereas the pivots or the pins on the LT rather are all flush flat. So definitely a knife that you could use all day rather than perhaps the ZT, which is designed just to be used a few times, super hard without wanting to fly out of your hand, but then perhaps getting a bit uncomfortable if you tried to, say, carve a intricate walking stick out of. So this is the thickness of the two blades. I'm just going to stick with this one for comparison for a little while if you don't mind, because they have fairly similar knives, it's just completely different attitudes. The Outback is like your woods knife, and the 0180 is like your tactical knife. I mean, the Outback has a name, the 0180 has a number. It's kind of the two extremes of high quality knife making right here. That Saber grind, I would recommend it. You can get this in a Scandi as well. You can get this, I think, in a flat too, maybe. But it's the Saber is a great mix between the two of them. So the Saber is strong, so it will be good with battening, but it is also high and thin behind the edge, so it is really good for slicing as well. I had a really nice time slicing up food with this. Much better than a Scandi, which has a tendency to kind of crack the food. And the flat, which when you use it, say, for your wood processing tasks, isn't as easy to control. So the Saber grind is a really good mixture between the two of them. So I just got me some onions getting cut up there, really just to demonstrate that this makes like smooth, clean cuts rather than fluffy or messy cuts where the material gets parted and sprays everywhere or whatnot. The stuff that happens when you cut with something big and thick and non-slicey, really. And the onion money shot, there we go. Nice. So cutting an orange now. So this blade is made of 3V, which is one of the better steels. In my testing of 3V, it holds an edge for a really good long time, like as well as like a good stainless powder steel, like S35 VN or something like that. But it's also really tough as well. So the analogy I often use, or the explanation I often use, is that Bark River can make the Bravo one just as strong with a 3/16 inch stock with 3V as it is with the 1/4 inch of A2, which is no slouch either in terms of toughness. Speaking of tasks that require toughness rather than edge retention, bit of battening, so splitting some wood. So you might be doing this if you are using it by a fire and you've got some pre-bought campfire wood that you can't just put a lighter straight under a big log like that, so you're going to have to make it smaller, and this is a great knife for doing just that. No worries at all. You don't have to worry about the edge rolling or distorting with 3V, and you don't have to worry about it getting super dull super quickly when you go to do your shavings, because 3V does hold a great edge as well. The profile of the grind is good. The Saber means that it's got some flats at the top which will bear the pinch of the wood if you are going to start battening crazy stuff. If that is your thing, some people just like doing that, and more power to them. So it's got a good shape for that as well. No issues at all using this in a hard sense, because it's full tang, made of good steel, and it has all the trimmings like G10 and things that aren't going to smash apart and get destroyed by, this stray hit from a battening log or something similar. So here I am being El Bushcrafto, and yeah, it's shaving just fine. The Saber grind, every time I switch grinds, I still need to learn a little bit again. It's fine though, it's sharp, it's thin behind the edge, it's easy to control. It's got a super sharp spine, which is great for shaving wood, but also is just notable that you might get a sore thumb by pressing your thumb up against it. Not the biggest deal in the world, and of course the flat spine comes in handy when you're doing your traditional fire starting methods as well. So fair few shavings, easily enough accumulated by a very average bushman like myself. No worries at all. I would suggest perhaps getting the Scandi if you're thinking about making lots of complicated wooden ornaments. This is it throwing big hunks of slag from a ferro rod. LT makes the sharpest spines in the business, in my opinion. Comparison time. This is a Gerber strong arm, a great multi-purpose kind of knife, more on the tactical side. That's the ZT-0180 that I was showing you before, kind of like the tactical equivalent of the Outback, really. That's one of those Holterfors heavy-duty like wrecking knives or whatever they're called. Really cheap, but really cool knife. That's a Mora Companion. I think we've all used a Mora Companion if you're the kind of guy who watches knife YouTube. A Falcon even A1, like a large survival knife. A couple of extra inches on the blade there from, I think the Outback's 4 to the 6. And this is a 7-inch bladed Becker BK7, so much larger knife. This is some stuff that this knife would fit really well with. It'd play really well with this sort of combination if you're going out, or maybe even this sort of combination if you're not really somewhere where there's lots of trees to chop down. I find a saw is better for precision tasks. But anyway, you're not here to hear the laws of bushcraft from myself. You're here to see this awesome knife, and here it is. So I know it's a lot of money, but they always say if you're going to spend, if you have $600 to spend $300 of it on the knife, and then everything else for the rest of the money, because that's kind of what going outdoors and maybe even surviving the knife is all about. I mean, we don't all go out intending to survive with a knife, but if you had to survive with this one, I think it'd be a great candidate as well. Yeah, it's all premium, and some people think, premium knives, you're never going to use them because you're going to be too scared to use them. It doesn't quite have that to it, and I think it's due to the sort of the cloudier finish in the steel. You're not too worried about dinging it up. And also, it's just made of super strong, super tough materials like G10 and 3V. It's pretty much bomb-proof as far as I could tell. I mean, you can't take the scales off like an Essie, but then why do you really want to do that anyway? So I think if you're after a really cool, really like prestige-y and sort of heirloomy quality, but also really usable camp knife, do I like this more than the T5? Probably not. I just like the look of the T5, but it's going to perform just as well, maybe even a little bit better than the T5, which is that line steel that I'm always going on about. LT again has knocked it out of the park with this knife. I haven't yet to see a bad knife from LT Wright. He makes some different knives, of course, like there's more purpose-driven knives, but none of them are bad either. Really, really impressed with what this little company in America are turning out. And if you hunt for knives on the right spots, you could find something as awesome as the Outback for yourself. And I really do recommend that you do so. Alright dudes, I'll see you later.